What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. I'm talking Sekiro today. All day long talking Sekiro. This is one of my favorite FromSoft games of all time. I love this game so much. Everything about it is amazing, except for the Sunken Valley, more specifically, the gun fort area of this game. I need to let everybody know how much I love this game, but more importantly, I've been hearing too many people talk about their top 5, top 10 least favorite places in FromSoft games. And very rarely do I see a video where somebody brings up the gun fort or the Sunken Valley. This is the worst part of any FromSoft game. Bloodborne, there's not a single part in that game where I get anxious just thinking about going to it. Elden Ring, I've only beat that game on one playthrough, if we're being 100% honest, but I've played a bunch of it on multiple playthroughs. No part of that game am I like dreading to go to. Dark Souls, a lot of people talk Blighttown, and I enjoyed Blighttown. I enjoyed every part of Blighttown. There was no issue for me in Blighttown. The Forbidden Woods in Bloodborne, I heard about on my first playthrough. I was going into it being like, this is going to be awful. But once you learn the area a little bit, it's pretty simple. Like the in both Blighttown and the Forbidden Woods, the enemies aren't terribly difficult. It's just there's a lot of them, and that's the problem. In Blighttown, they're probably a little bit more difficult just because of the poison aspect and some of the big boys coming at you, and just the overall, like, I don't know, high wire kind of rope walk you're on the whole time. But once you get down to that base level and you go fight the boss, like, it all seems so much easier than the Sunken Valley. As you can see in this video, I die constantly. This is just like a little clip of me playing, but this is my second playthrough, and Snake Eyes, first of all, absolutely in the worst location possible. Then you have these guys with guns, and all you have is a fucking sword. Tell me what Miyazaki was thinking when he was like, we're going to make a game where you only have one sword, and then you fight an entire section on rocks where you have to continuously jump like a platformer, and all you're fighting against is people with fucking guns. Like, is Miyazaki trying to get people to fight him in the streets? I don't understand what he was thinking when he came up with this section for a video game. Like I said, Sekiro is one of my favorite games. I would say it's Bloodborne and Sekiro neck and neck, with like Lies of P and the unpopular opinion that Lords of the Fallen is probably in my top 5. And then probably the original Dark Souls. Maybe even the Demon Souls over Dark Souls. I'm not too sure. But in all of the FromSoft games, let's go through them, okay? So Demon Souls, there's really no difficult part in that entire game. I think the whole game's really good, but it's pretty easy. I would say the hardest area, and it's the name is escaping me, but wherever you fight the man-eater, that's probably the hardest area, or like right after the man-eater maybe, when you have to go down low. Those creatures, those like creepy crawlies, those gave me nightmares for a couple of days, and man-eater is difficult. But that game, there's really no area that's hard. Dark Souls, same thing. Blighttown, I guess, is difficult, but I think the hardest part with Dark Souls and Demon Souls is just the amount of like mazy kind of areas you have to go through. Then once you get to like Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2 has a bunch, but you know, that game's garbage and nobody likes it, so we're not going to talk about it much. But I would say Bloodborne, the difficult areas, it's more just bodies being thrown at you. And I think that that's what a lot of these games are. The areas themselves are mazy. You are always on the back foot, you feel. Especially if you're inexperienced coming into these games. You feel like you're on the back foot just because they're difficult games. But the areas being a maze is the hardest part. Then, when you get into having millions of fucking people being thrown at you all at once, yeah, it gets a little difficult. But no area in any game is more difficult than this. The guns coming at you, the maze, Snake Eyes placement, some of the guys with their cannons and their placements, just the sheer volume of enemies with guns and bullets flying at you, it's all very difficult. Anyway, Blighttown, not difficult. Demon Souls doesn't have a difficult area whatsoever. Although I think the fourth rune stage on Demon Souls is, there's a lot going on there, but I like it more than it's difficult. Dark Souls, I wouldn't say that any of the areas are terrible, just all of them are very kind of poorly made, I would say. Dark Souls 3, I feel like, is more claustrophobic in the way that that Sekiro is, but I don't think it's terribly difficult. I haven't been stuck anywhere for as long as I have been in like a Blighttown or a Sunken Valley or Gunfort rather. And then, like I said, Bloodborne, I love all the areas. The hardest area in Bloodborne for me is probably the DLC just in general, just because of the placement of some of the villains, of some of the NPCs or the bosses. And some of them are just overly powered, but once you get into the rhythm of the fight, it's all good. Elden Ring, I mean, Caelid is just kind of annoying, and I hate the atmosphere of it, but I wouldn't say it's bad. Once you get up to, like, the Hellgate tree and stuff, it gets very difficult. And even right before that, it's pretty difficult. But the Sunken Valley, man, oh, God, it's just the worst thing that's ever happened. Oh, dude, I did forget about Dark Souls Lost Azalith or whatever, where it's all dark. Oh, no. What am I thinking of? The Tomb of the Giants, maybe? Or is that all the same thing? I haven't played that game in a while. But wherever it's completely dark, and if you missed one of 3 items, you're fucking in pitch black darkness. That part sucked a whole turd. I'll tell you what, that was terrible. But I genuinely think out of all the games, Sekiro is probably the most fun to play, whilst also being the one that irritates me and makes me want to scream and yell and break stuff the most. This was the game I had the most trouble with, outside of, honestly, yeah, this is Bloodborne was fun the whole way through. There was a couple of parts where I got stuck on Bloodborne, but that was like my first experience with a Souls game. And then I immediately jumped from not finishing Bloodborne to not playing these ever again. And then I beat Lies of P. Then I did beat Bloodborne. Then I immediately jumped to Sekiro like a fucking idiot. I went from never playing these games because Bloodborne gave me a bad experience when it first came out, and I couldn't get past that first part. I couldn't even get to the first boss, the Cleric Beast. That whole like alleyway section had me fucked up because I didn't know what I was doing. I jumped from never playing a Souls game before to beating Lies of P in like 40 hours. Jumped from Lies of P straight to Bloodborne, beat that in 40. Went back to Lies of P, beat it in 25. And then I was like, you know what? I'm cool. I'm going to go beat Sekiro. And then I just got so hard stuck in the Sunken Valley. And it sucks shit. And then once you get through like the Gunfort and you get past Snake Eyes, and in this video I run straight by Snake Eyes because I'm not trying to deal with that motherfucker. But once you get past Snake Eyes and once you dive into the Gunfort, it gets a little bit easier once you're in the physical Gunfort, and once you're at, you know, the Gunfort, you know, little idol. But then immediately after you get done with the idol, you go down the little pathway, and boom, you're in a hard fight. And if you don't know what you're doing in this fight, you're gonna keep dying because this person just keeps clawing. There's da 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 da, big swing, da 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 da, big swing, and you have to. If you're not timing it properly and you're not going in knowing what you're doing, you're fucked. So you get through all of the hard stuff, and then you immediately get stuck on a hard boss. And I know a lot of people say it's not hard once you learn the routine, which I know the routine. I still died 3 times in this video. yeah, this guy's a piece of shit if we're being 100% honest with each other. But I eventually beat him, and happy days. But once you get through the Sunken Valley and all of the jumping off of cliffs and thinking you're going to catch with your arm, and then you don't catch it, and you fall to your death, then you restart, and then you get shot out of the sky by a guy. Once you get past all that and you kill all the guys with guns, then you get to Snake Eyes, and he's a piece of shit. He's an absolute piece of shit. And a lot of people are like, well, you don't know what you're doing. No, I know what I'm doing. He's still the fucking hardest boss in the game. I'd make the argument that Snake Eyes is harder than any boss up until the point where you could take the Shura ending. Once you talk to Owl and you can take the Shura ending, up until that point, Snake Eyes is the hardest character in the game. Hands down. No question about it. Some of the mini-bosses had me more stuck than any of the actual bosses. Like the Guardian Ape, you fight that guy twice. And that was totally fine for me. It took me a couple of tries, sure, but I was in the rhythm. The Gun Fort is chaos. The Sunken Valley is straight up chaos. But look, once I get past this part, once I skip Snake Eyes in this run, which I've done, once I skip Snake Eyes, it's happy days. I'm in it to win it at this point. I took the Shura ending my first playthrough. I'm going to do a full boss run and beat everybody in this game possible. And then I'm doing the same thing on Bloodborne right now. But Bloodborne I'm streaming. I'm going to post gameplay of Sekiro once I'm done with the game. I'm going to do, like a gameplay playlist on YouTube. But right now we're just sitting down on stream. Catch me on Twitch and YouTube, DannyNines, and we're going to beat every single boss in Bloodborne together. And I'm telling you, there's not a part in that game that's harder than Sekiro. And specifically the part that we've been talking about this entire time, Sunken Valley. One of the other things I want to mention too is there's a band out there. Now this might be, people might not be into this at all, but I played this game for the first time last summer. Like I said, I'm new to these FromSoft games for the most part. I played Bloodborne when it first came out way back in the day, and then Lies of P, I played it 2 Christmases ago, beat it twice back to back, beat Bloodborne, and then since then I've just been beating all the Souls-likes, even Lords of the Fallen, which is a great game, Blasphemous, all that stuff. Been doing it all. Anyway, last summer when I was playing this game specifically, or last spring, a band that I used to listen to in high school came out with a song. The band is called Eat Me While I'm Hot, and the song is called Fire in the Valley. And I can now never, every time I hear that song, Fire in the Valley, by Eat Me While I'm Hot, I'm in the car, dude, and I'm telling you, it's like an old man who has PTSD because I just think about this Sunken Valley shit. Just because it's got the name Valley, I listened to it. It came out whenever I was in the middle of playing this part of the game. Like, I'm telling you, it fucked me up. So every time I hear that song, which I do like the song a lot, but every time I hear it, it just takes me back to the PTSD of getting my shit pushed in by the Gun Fort pieces of shit. So Miyazaki, you're my boy, and I love what you've done to gaming, and I love these games. But for the love of God, if you ever make a Sekiro 2, which I hope you do, Bloodborne 2 first, but if you ever make a Sekiro 2, do not do another guy with gun versus guy with sword, because that's just so fucking irritating. Anyway, thanks for watching the clip. I'm going to let this play out, honestly, just so you guys can check out the last, couple minutes of gameplay here of me beating this guy. But be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out my podcast, Something's Brewing. Anywhere you find yours, Something's Brewing with DannyNines. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.